Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. It's your host, me, Morgan Kelly, your average theater kid. And thank you so much for joining me on my first ever episode of my brand new podcast. And I can't wait to introduce our first guest, somebody who has a very, very, very special place in my heart and one of the kindest people I know, Zach Bravo. So, Zach and I met about a year ago or so while he was touring with the national tour of Hamilton and was kind enough to sit down with me all the way back then and just let me pick his brain about everything from touring to theater in rural Pennsylvania to Batman cosplays. So now we're sitting down in the recording booth at Ovenjar Studios to record this hour talking about how life has been now that he's back home in New York. He's currently playing Fred Casely in Chicago on Broadway, also known as the guy that you've seen dying in all of the bootlegs of Whitney Levitt, and is one of the sweetest people I know. So without further ado, please welcome to the pod dancer, Queens native, cosplayer, actor, and friend, Zach Bravo.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Long time no see.
I know. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for being willing to do this.
Of course.
I know that sometimes we're spamming to like a random Instagram DM.
No.
Like,
no.
Hey, but
No. I mean, it had been a while since we last spoke. What was it? Almost about a year ago.
It was
now?
about a year ago. Yeah, because you were
Yeah.
in Boise for Hamilton.
Oh my God, yeah. So that's where I met you in Boise, where I did that master class, and now we're both in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're here for a short time.
Eventually, I'm getting there.
Yeah. You're on your way.
I gotta graduate first.
How's that going?
It's going well. I finished in May, and this is a part of my senior project.
Oh, amazing.
And so I am like interviewing as many people that work professionally as I can to give people who don't have the access to it a little bit more of an insight on what like the current industry looks like and have it be a resource where there is a bunch of different things instead of having to individually go out to people, or if you don't live in a city that tours come to and things like that. So
totally.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
All right, so for listeners who don't know your story, how did dance first find you?
Oh man, so how did dance first find me? Well, I was around 6 or 7 when I started to like have some interest in it. And the way that started was my cousin would go to this dance studio, and there was one day that I just went over and decided to watch the class, and it just looked like a lot of fun. And then the teacher noticed me, like kind of like tapping my foot, because I was sitting on the side of the dance room. And she invited me into the class, and like I learned a little bit of choreo, and then as soon as like the class was done, like I immediately fell in love, like ran back home to my mom, like begging her to put me into classes, and that's really how it started for me. Like around 6 or 7, and for someone who grew up here, there's a plethora of different types of people that like go out and all that stuff. I was not like that as a child. I was very sheltered, so like I really had like there were like some limitations. So like I only had to go to school, and then I go to dance class, and then I would go home. So the other thing that helped expand my love for dance was like watching a lot of TV and film. Like I still have like a lot of the old DVDs that I had when I was like playing it, like watching these movies on repeat, random movies like Edward Scissorhands, the Flintstones movies, or The Mask, or How the Grinch Stole Christmas, all those types of movies. And sort of like that helped me expand my mind with how I can incorporate that into like my movement.
That's awesome. So with like watching all of these movies, with studying it like in such a place where there's such a plethora of people to teach and to learn from, is there a choreographer or style of dance that you found has like helped throughout your overall training in your career?
Gosh, I mean, I think in the beginning, like it was like people like Usher and Michael Jackson. Like I really loved that type of style of movement. I can't say that I did it so great when I was younger, but I understood it to a point where it eventually got into my body, because then sometime after I was able to utilize that movement in Hamilton. And so I mean that came with a lot of my training. Soon after, once I had grown out of the dance studio, I went to LaGuardia High School, where I studied dance professionally, and it's interesting because like my career, what I thought was gonna happen was I was a dance major, and then I thought the pathway for me was going to be like a part of a dance company and do concert dance and all that stuff. Junior year came around, and then I got into the school musical where we did Grease, and I got cast as Kaneki, and I thought that was like the most exciting thing, especially with like knowing with like in the original show, like not the movie, like Grease Lightning is Kaneki's song. So I thought that was very exciting, and that was like really my way of like getting into like what it was like to be or try out what a triple threat was.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really have like extensive training with voice and acting. I only knew dance, but being that like I watched a lot of movies and I studied it to a point where it's like, oh, I think I can act, you know. That I took that with me, and it kind of came out to whatever it came out to thousands of years ago when I played Kaneki in Greece. But that was that shift for me. That was that shift where like I caught the musical theater bug. And that's when I knew that like I wanted to study this more professionally. And lo and behold, like there's a plethora of musical theater programs that you can get into. And so like I looked for a lot of programs, and then eventually I got into Pace University, which was my top choice. Got into there, and it was a little scary at first because I was going in there to train for all three things: dance, singing, and acting. Where my strongest suit is always and will be dance. So like I was a little nervous, like, and you know, like again being the sort of like sheltered kid, like I didn't really have like I wasn't very social. I tried connecting as much as I could, and I would argue like when I was younger I was very much an introvert. Nowadays I'm very socially awkward, but I think that kind of started in college a little bit. So college came around, and I was just trying my best to like pick up everything, and it was a bit of a challenge. Like I didn't know how to read music. Like so it was so bad, like to a point where I had a music theory class, and I bombed the class in the first semester.
We talked about this last time.
So badly, yes, so badly so that hard. The higher ups were like, my teachers were like, yeah, you can't continue. You're gonna have to take this again next year for my sophomore year.
God, come on, man.
I know, but I wasn't good at reading music, but now I can. I can, thanks to the extensive training that I had for that. But yeah, no, it was a little nerve-wracking because all I wanted to, you know, when you're younger and you're wanting and you're learning everything there is to know about musical theater, like, you automatically think that you want to be the best. And you push yourself. You set standards. You give yourself like limits, like goals, all that stuff. But man, I would push my body so much to an extent where like I would just tire myself out. And even to a point where like during college, where I even thought like, oh man, like I don't know if I'm ever gonna make it in this business because all I can do is dance, which is a strong feat for me to have, or for any dancer to have if they're wanting to do musical theater. But I wanted to like act. I wanted to like be a storyteller. And this was like just before like Hamilton had become like a huge thing. At that time, it didn't occur to me that you can still be a storyteller while being a dancer. And we see that a lot with a show like Hamilton, or with any musical theater show to in that matter. But there was always something. When Hamilton became very popular during the time I was in college, like it was hot. It was like the hottest ticket. And like I remember like getting a ticket for Christmas and like it being the most exciting thing because like when I finally saw it, I saw these dancers tell stories, but they weren't necessarily like they were able to change it to different characters as the story was moving forward. And I thought that was very awesome and also very scary because Hamilton was so hot at the time, is still hot at this time. I found it very intimidating because I was like, I don't know if I'm a dancer, but I don't know if I'm like that where like I have to like push through these types of limits of like, you know, dancing the way that these dancers do. And like it really affected me. It affected my mindset on like in this theater industry, where I was like, I actually don't think I'm capable of doing this. But then, you know, it didn't stop me. Like, I kept training and all that stuff. And eventually, like, I found space where I was able to be more tenacious in the audition room. I started, like, I tried out networking. Like, that was like my way of like trying to connect with people, even though I was like scared as hell, like because I'm socially awkward. It's hard to network with people.
It is.
To make it seem to it's hard to network and do it like so organically and authentically, because it's very easy to like just do like, I would love to work with you one day, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like having this sort of conversation. I would say like throughout my entire career, like I've gone through a lot of trial and error. But you know, I've learned through it, and now I'm here. Yeah.
So you've talked about different ways of like learning how to be a storyteller through dance, even more than you were already doing, and learning kind of what your bodily limits are as far as training and networking and all these things. So you're talking about that time in college at Pace. So like if you're talking about a rigorous BFA program like Pace, what do you think for either people who are looking forward to going into it or looking at Pace specifically? What are a couple of things that you really valued along with those that you've already talked about from that program?
Yeah, I mean, the program was really amazing during my time there. It really helped me look within as an artist or as an upcoming artist, and wanting to see like what there is that I can bring to the table in like this new, like, because you know we're always getting like different generations of performers coming in and out of this industry, and during that time, like I was a part of that industry of like these new uprising creators. You know, like it was really great. My time at Pace was great. It was hard, but it was great, because I actually learned how to be. I realized that I'm actually a really great golden age singer.
Yeah.
And that really got me into like a lot more rooms than not, because I had like this this golden age voice.
Like learning what your strengths are and how to play to them.
Yeah. I would say like going into programs like a musical theater program, like it is the space for you to find your strengths and your weaknesses, and seeing if there's any space to build strength within those weaknesses. And I gotta hand that to a lot of my professors back at Pace. Actually, it's funny. One of my professors came to see Chicago a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't seen her like since I had graduated, you know. And so it was like really cool for like all this time to pass, and for me to see one of my professors see me on a Broadway stage, and you know, and she was just bright-eyed and just so proud and all that stuff, and I told her, I was like, it was because of your training that helped me like fine-tune and like find myself as an artist, and now I'm here, you know.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
So like we're talking about playing to your strengths, kind of finding who you are. So as I'm about to graduate in May, and I've been really fighting this idea that like coming to New York, trying out for all of these things, that there are a million versions of you out there, and that this industry will always have someone to replace me, and that it's just like it's hard, right? And so I was researching for this, and this line on your website really spoke to me. It was, you say, there's always room for improvement, and there will always be a spot for you. Can you tell me more about that?
It's as simple as it says. Like, you know, you're constantly growing. Like, you know, like it can connect to like with us, like growing up, getting older, aging, and all that stuff. And throughout all that time, as we're growing up, we gain tools, and that's the same thing that we gain through learning how to work in this industry. You know, and there is always room for improvement, because like, let's say that like you want to sing this one song so badly, and then you try it a couple times, but then it actually doesn't sound really great, but then you go train to do that, because if you really love this song and you really want to sing it properly, then you train for it. You know, that's really what it is. It's like if you really want to do something, you try it out, and if it doesn't stick, but you don't want to let go of it yet, keep dissecting it, flesh it out, see what there is for you to do in order for you to be successful, to like use a song in the audition room, or like for a self-tape, or like a reel, or anything of those things. You can, there, like, never settle for anything less, especially when it comes to you as a person, as an artist, but primarily as a person.
Of just that strength of knowing what you want and not being afraid to go for it. Like, one of my things always when I'm training or like learning a new song, I'm like, okay, my point, because you can always keep working on it, right? Like you're talking about all like this like little, like you can always improve little things. But my thing is always like, okay, could I sing this song on top of a whole show 8 times a week? Like, am I doing it healthily enough? Do I have the right technique? Am I warming up the right way? Like, it is, there's so many nuances to everything. So you played Rum Tum Tugger in the non-union national tour of Cats right after the pandemic, and then joined the Broadway national tour of Hamilton in 2022. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think are the biggest differences between touring non-union versus touring with a union?
You get a lot more benefits when you're protected under a union, for sure. I mean, like, I'll say this. I don't regret my time touring with Cats, because it was like a really big thing for me. Like, for one, I got to be a principal, which was something I never thought could ever happen. And that was like really exciting. The traveling aspect was hard, but you know, like, like when it's your first time touring, it is going to be hard, because like if you've never traveled like to the extent of like it's hard, especially if you're in a non-union tour and you're only allowed one luggage. You know, you're just living out of one bag. You know, like the luxury of like a union tour is like you get trunks, you know, and so you could like have some storage there. But like with non-union, I don't know if they've changed the rules, because it's been a while since I've been non-union. Like, you know, like just living out of one bag, and then like, you know, constantly having to like travel to different places that like you've never been to. And also, like, I mean, it was also a very scary time right
after the pandemic,
because like, you know, everything, I mean, everything throughout our time has always been politicized, but like, you know, it was just it's I mean, it was a scary time back then, and as it is a scary time now. And like, you know, you try to keep a low profile, you try not to like speak out so much or what have you, because, you know, you still have to clock in at half hour, you know. So yeah, no, it was a very interesting time, like traveling non-union. But I guess with that aspect, that it could also apply to like any tour, whether it's union or non-union. But I would say, like, yeah, non-union touring had its challenges, especially if the majority of your touring is traveling by bus or plane. I had the luxury of doing both, which was always like so nerve-wracking. With Hamilton, like, it was always plane. Like we always traveled by plane. If we were like closer to the next city, then we would probably take a bus, but that rarely happened. But yeah, no, I would say that's the distinct difference, is like the traveling aspect, the amount of time that you're spending in a city. I remember like having like one-nighters with Cats, and that was really, really hard. Like, I remember like we were in we were somewhere in Illinois, nowhere near Chicago, you know, and it was very, very snowy, and you know, we're Cats, right? So we're wearing like very tight costumes, and like, you know, like it's a whole second skin. And you know, the door where, you know, the trucks would pull in to like put the set on, that door was wide open.
So backstage you're like
chilly, freezing our butts off backstage. And you know, it's a, like, you know, Cats is a very like rigorous, like, physical show. Like, it's a marathon, and like we're sitting back here like chilling, like freezing cold, in the outskirts of Illinois.
Then you gotta go do Jellicle Ball, and you're like, what am I doing?
As much as I like remember that moment, that really was a blur, because like we were just in and out and off to the next city. With Hamilton, and I feel like with most union tours, we will stay we will stay in a city for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you guys were like 2 weeks in Seattle, I feel like, after.
In Seattle, we were there for a while, I think. I feel like we were there for like maybe either 2 to 4 weeks we were there. But
longer than a day, regardless.
Definitely longer than a day. Yeah, cats like we had 1 2-week sit down.
Wow.
One.
Where?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Cats was a time. So like there's a lot of things that I don't remember.
So fair.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like it was even staying in a city for 1 week was a luxury because like we would have split weeks where we would be in 2 cities in the same week, or triple split weeks, which was very rare, but it was in our criteria. Yeah, it was hard. Also like payments are a lot different too. Like I remember, like even as a principal, like I had to do a lot of negotiating in order to like be financially comfortable on the road. And you know, like it's all about, I think that connects with like networking and connecting, because like say you get a contract of any sorts, like there is space for negotiations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and I'd imagine, like, especially if you're touring non-union, like, if you don't have representation to, or like people to fall back on to be able to read through your contracts, or if you're nervous or don't know how to negotiate, like all these different things. Like, so with the scheduling of running through of like those triple split weeks, do you get that schedule ahead of time, or is it just like, here's where we're going next week? No,
we got, before joining the tour, like we had like a whole booklet of things, and included in that was like our spots that we were going to go to from 2021 to 2022. And so we knew what we were getting into.
Oh yeah, of course.
Was it still hard knowing that like we had to like jump into like a city for one night and then go to a different city another? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if we knew ahead of time like when that was about to happen, it was still hard.
Yeah. Now you're playing Fred Casely 8 shows a week on Broadway.
I know. It's nuts. It's nuts. Like that was such a it's been such a whiplash, in like the best way. Like having to finish off a tour and then immediately having to come back to the city to like learn an entirely different show, and an entirely different style of dance.
Yeah.
You know, like that was a whirlwind. But yeah, now we're in the thick of it, and yeah, I've been playing Fred Casely for the last 7 months now.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, no,
so how fast did you learn the show? Was it like a 2-3 week turnaround? It's a
really good question. Okay, so I had like a 2 week and a half slot of like rehearsals, but I essentially learned the show in 3 days.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's absolutely insane.
But one of those days being just learning the music.
Yeah.
The second day learning act 1. The third day learning act 2.
That sounds so stressful.
And then just like repeating it over and over again. And what was also very unique, which apparently had never happened in Chicago history, with like I was joining this company as well as 3 others. So 4 of us were like joining in.
And how big is the company?
It's pretty tight. You know, there's about roughly, oh gosh, I see these people every day. Roughly like 12 to 15 of us.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a pretty small cast.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if you see the show, whenever you see the show, like, you know, you see the set and like it looks pretty small.
Yeah.
But like once you're on stage, it's a very big space. But there is a lot of bodies moving around doing Fosse with a live band in the middle of it. You know? But yeah.
The first thing that, again, I like researching for this, I was just like stalking your website. I'm like hunched over over my computer. So the first thing that you read on it is the quote, "Great acting is being able to create a character, and great character is being able to be yourself," by John.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah,
he is one of my greatest inspirations.
So tell me about the parts of yourself you've been able to bring to Fred.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's really fun about playing Fred Casely, I mean, what's really unique about this entire show is that it's very reflective in today's world, and it's so crazy that like it still has a lot of importance. the corruption, the greed, the all that stuff that we experience in America today, in the world today, you know. But there's a level of vaudeville where it's more palatable, and especially like, you know, with Fred Casely, you know, he's like, he kind of starts the plot of the story of Chicago. He gets shot by Roxy Hart because, like, you know, he was just like being goofy, and just silly goofy for all the young kids out there. He was just being silly goofy with a woman, and let's say this woman's name is Roxy Hart, and Roxy Hart didn't like that, so she killed him.
Death.
And you know, but then Fred Casely comes back in the courtroom scene, and that is just, the courtroom scene is just pure vaudeville. And that is the moment where, like, I really feel like I get to shine because I just get to be a clown.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember in rehearsals, like, I was told that there were 3 versions of Fred Casely.
Okay.
The first version is what you see in the beginning. That's who Fred Casely is. He's, like, this scum of the earth. Like, you know, he happens to sell furniture to every, like, housewife's home and all that stuff, and, you know, whatever. But, you know, there's the second version, which is Roxy's dream, which he comes out in the Roxy number, where, you know, like, Roxy sees Fred Casely as, like, more of, like, this, like, loving character, like, what Roxy wants to view Fred as. And then the final version of Fred Casely is this caricature, this exacerbated version of him where he is viewed as like a monster, because, you know, we have Billy Flynn, the lawyer, putting together the story that, like, oh, Fred tried to threaten to kill Roxy and that they both reached for the gun, when we clearly saw in the beginning, you know, Fred just got shot point blank, you know. But in the courtroom scene, Fred Casely is this version of, like, this drunken beast, and, you know, he is trying to he takes advantage of Roxy, and, you know, he also tries to reach for the gun and all that stuff, like, but with all that information, he becomes like this caricature, which is like, it has this element of, like, mainly funny, but also kind of scary, because I would like to think that the audience's takeaway is like, wow, like, you can really twist the story in any way to make someone look bad. In order for someone to get some freedom, you know? I mean, it's oh, man, Chicago is so good, and it's twisted, and it's a fun time. But yeah, no, I feel like I really get to shine with playing these different versions of Fred Casely, because, like, that's what we all want as actors. Like, we want to, like, be able to jump into different things. This sort of, like, playing with different types of evolutions with characters, and this is really great because it's in my ball game. I love being crazy. I love playing. I'd love to play. You know, and a lot of the elements that I do in the courtroom scene are very much inspired by people like John Leguizamo and Jim Carrey. Like, the physical comedy aspect of it all. Like, I love doing that because that's just who I am every day. I'm a physical comedian, I guess.
So how is I mean, obviously the choreography in Hamilton versus Chicago is very different. Like, how was that navigating those different, like, the physicality styles?
Actually, it was a lot easier because I only had to learn 1 track instead of 6.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true.
Yeah, so actually I was very proud of myself for, like, retaining the new information as quickly as I had, because, like, it took me a while to, like, really sustain the 6 tracks that I learned in Hamilton.
Yeah, 6 tracks.
yeah, and I'm glad that I stayed with that company for as long as I did, for there to be a point for me to feel comfortable with these 6 tracks, because it was a bit of a challenge. I had never swung a show before, and I've never swung a show to that caliber. You know, it's Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like, and the choreography that Andy Blankenbuehler has set out, it's just so good. But it's also a lot of information because not everyone is doing the same thing. It's actually very rare for the ensemble to be doing the same thing. Whereas with Chicago, I'll put it this way. With Hamilton, I learned. I mean, there's 50 numbers.
Yeah, it's
right.
Nuts.
And for the majority of the ensemble, for the majority of all those numbers and songs, the ensemble is doing roughly about half of that.
Mm-hmm.
Dancing and singing. And then we have Chicago, where I am playing just one track, and there's maybe, I actually don't know how many songs there are, but it's not as much as Hamilton. But I'm only in 6 numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really changes things. But yeah, no, I mean, they're both. What's really cool and what's really cool and what I'm honored to be a part of is learning these different styles of dancing that is like so iconic. You know, Andy Blankenbuehler is iconic now with his style. The same way that Bob Fosse is very iconic with his style. I think it's safe to say that, like, you know, there's a lot of inspiration that a lot of these choreographers like build from
Fosse. Yes.
Yeah, from Fosse. And you know, it's truly an honor. It's crazy how my brain was able to shift into that world.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I didn't just like, I didn't jump into the deep end with it, although it felt like it, because I was just like, whoa, I'm coming back home to make my Broadway debut. Yeah. But I prepared myself. I feel like, besides like learning the show and dancing it and all that stuff, I actually did some like homework myself to like really immerse myself, because again, doing Hamilton for 2.5 years and then switching to doing Fosse in Chicago, that's a shift.
Yes.
You know, so I was like, okay, like I really want to get this into my body, and I really want to, like, I'm a visual learner, so like I rewatched the Fosse Verdon TV show. And because of that, it got me reading the biography that the author Sam Wason wrote. And so I ordered that off Amazon, and I got it, and it was like this thick book, very dense book, and I was like, damn, Bob Fosse had a life. And you learn that he really did. And you know, we learn a lot about like his upbringing and how he became the choreographer that he is today. You know what I mean? So when I read that, I think I had finished it like probably like maybe a month into doing Chicago. And at that point, like, I felt like I had known everything. And now it's in my body, because I did my homework, because I did research. But it was a lot.
Yeah, no,
it was a lot.
I can freaking only imagine.
Yeah.
So you've been going nonstop, I feel like, since graduating from Pace.
Yeah.
First, like, I know that we originally connected for your work in regional theaters over in Pennsylvania, and to touring to Broadway. What is something that keeps you, or some things that keep you grounded while moving through this just like crazy universe?
You know, it's I love that question, because I actually don't know how to answer that right now. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a little scary, because it's like, you know, I try to take things on a day-to-day basis. So I am not although I've been very lucky with the career that I've had, but it really has just been like, again, like trial and error and figuring out what works for me and how I keep going. I very much am proud and very lucky to have had the career that I've had. But as I'm getting older, and as I'm doing different things, different styles of dance and all that stuff, I am starting to feel my body start to get a bit more tired nowadays. Because it's just been, you know, it's just been put through the ringer. It's been a wild ride. But you know, I am at a place right now where I'm thinking of like, okay, what is something that I would need for me, for my body, for my mental health and all that stuff, and I'm figuring that out as we speak. And you know, that's not me saying this is not to worry anybody who listens to this, or even worry you, because like, you know, you're like, people will go through moments where like you get a job and then you have a little bit of a break, and maybe sometimes that break will be a little bit much longer, and then you find the next thing and all that stuff. But But yeah, no, I think because I had been working very consistently, I haven't known what it's like to like sit down or sit still and take a break. Because that I think that's also the thing that's kind of implemented into us as artists, is that we feel like we have to keep going and keep pushing, but eventually you keep doing that, eventually you are gonna break. And then your whole viewpoint on things will shift, and it will like put you in a I'm only speaking from experience, but it will I feel like it will put you in a pretty dark place. And it's up to us to find the things to get out of that. You know, I think what people really need to do nowadays is that like you have theater and then you have life.
Yes.
Those two should never correlate. Your life should not be your job, and your job should not be your life.
Because at the end of the day, it's a job.
It's a job. It's a job. Like I'll say this. Like when I made my Broadway debut, it was the most magical thing ever. All my friends and family were there, and it was crazy because like it felt like it was just like a very like beautiful like welcome home moment, because I had been out on the road for a very long time. I visited home here and there and all that stuff, but like I haven't been like, this is the first here. This is like the first time like 7 months that I've been in New York like that consistently for a very long time. So like it's really great to be home. And it's also disorienting at the same time because all I have known is traveling. But yeah, no, my Broadway debut was really great. And then the next day my mind shifted and it was like, okay, it's just time to clock in. I'm here to do my job. And then after a few hours, I go home. And then I'll just see what I do the next day until I have to come into the city and do the show again. And again and again and again, you know? So yeah, like it's all about balance. It's really all about balance. I know that like we are at a point for the listeners that are like young artists, like we want to be in this position of being a Broadway performer so badly, and you can have that, but you have to know how to balance it. Because if you don't, you will have a certain viewpoint about things, about this industry, maybe about yourself. And you know, like I go to therapy, you know, like it's very healthy for you to talk about your feelings about this industry and how it affects you as a not as a performer but as a person. That I feel like we have to learn. I feel like there should be some course
I know, man,
where you are taught like to separate the two. You know. But yeah, I think that's my answer to that.
So where do you commute in from?
So I was I was born in Manhattan but raised in Queens. Raised in Queens my entire life. And so like I just went back to Queens.
Nice.
And I've just moved around the area that's a lot closer to getting into the city. So yeah, no, I'm just residing in Queens until further notice.
Nice.
And yeah, no, I think it's really nice because once I got my apartment, I was thinking to myself, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying put. Unless I'm like really asked to go somewhere. But yeah, no, it's nice to sit still for once.
Yeah. And just like have peace.
Yeah.
Like catch the train home every night, you know?
Yeah, right.
All right, so we end each episode with 10 rapid fire theater trivia questions.
Okay.
Since on this podcast we all got here by just being your average theater kid. And if you get at least 7 correct, you get bragging rights.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
All right. Go. Chicago is based on a play of the same name. Who was the author of the original script?
I guess I really didn't do my homework that well. No, I don't know.
Maureen Dallas Watkins.
Okay.
Which 1982 musical set in Skid Row contains songs written by the composer of The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin?
Oh, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, I'm seeing that tonight. I'm so excited.
Oh, nice. Have fun.
Thank you. If you had tickets to the off-Broadway venue of the Public Theater for a preview performance on January 20th in 2015, you'd be scheduled to see what musical later that won 11 Tonys?
Hamilton.
Yeah. Name 3 Sondheim musicals.
3 Sondheim musicals? Into the Woods, Sunny in the Park with George, and Sweeney Todd.
Boom.
Yep.
Cats is based on the works of which famous poet?
Oh, T.S. Eliot.
Heck yes.
At least I knew that one. I'd be really bad if I didn't know that one.
I'd be like, we'll do it again. Which musical has been adapted into 2 Oscar-winning films?
2 Oscar-winning films?
Mm-hmm.
Currently? Oh, I see. So, like, what, the original West Side Story and then the revival?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's my bad. I'm sorry for not making that clear.
No, you're good.
That's my bad.
I was thinking of, Back to the Future didn't win any Academy
You're
Awards.
like, wait, what?
I was like, it's an Oscar-winning film.
Oh, man. So before Hamilton was a worldwide sensation, Lin-Manuel Miranda was best known for writing the music of what musical, which opened on Broadway in 2008?
Oh, In the Heights.
What Hollywood set 2016 film, famously misannounced as the winner of the Best Picture Oscar, will get the Broadway treatment in an upcoming live stage musical?
Right. Shoot. What was it? La La Land or something?
Yes.
Yeah, it was La La Land.
What colorful 3-word term for Broadway, alluding to its distinction of being one of the first electrically illuminated streets in the country, was coined in 1901?
What was the... Oh, it's either 2 things. Is it the Great White Way?
Yeah,
the Great White Way. Yeah.
What is the minimum number of seats that a venue in the theater district must have in order to be considered a Broadway theater rather than an off-Broadway theater?
What, like 1,000 or something? Ooh. 500?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. I would have to go back and count, but I think that was 7. So.
Oh, did I win?
Yes, you did.
Thank God. I was really sweating. I was like, oh God.
No.
Because here's the thing. Like, I love Broadway, but I didn't grow up like being a theater kid.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I watched movies and I listened to Metallica and No Doubt and different, like, you know, it was very late into my time in my youth where like I was like really into musical theater. Like, I saw Broadway shows younger, but it didn't like hit me in a way where I was like, oh, I need to do this right now. Like, you know, like I need to like, you know, I didn't have like vinyls of like The Most Happy Fella, you know.
No, of course not.
You know, but yeah, no. So I'm glad that I won though.
Yeah,
Thank
but
God.
I bet that different, I'm not going to say different, but like that background, I bet contributes. Like, you probably just have a really cool perspective of like, instead of maybe those people who are out there who from like, say, age 6 and on, or had parents in the industry or whatever, were able, this is what they've been in their entire life and all of they know.
Yeah.
I bet maybe having more of an outside perspective and not getting into it until a little bit like, quote, later, it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
I think maybe brings like a really cool aspect to your artistry.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I grew up like loving dance, but I didn't have anyone in my family, I guess, besides my cousin, that had like a theater background, you know, and also like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
like I just like liked theater, and then I got into it, and I guess it kind of started with me, but it was inspired by my cousin. Yeah, because she went to dance classes.
I am also one where it's like I'm the only kind of artistic person in my family, and then my cousin is a like huge band and marching band, and like now he teaches and things like that. So whenever we're at family reunions, we're like, okay, it's us.
Totally.
It's us. We got this.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
coming on the pod today.
Of
I
course.
so appreciate it.
This was so much fun. Thanks
I'm
for
so
having
glad.
me.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah.